So you guys have been asking for more videos, and while it may be tricky with my schedule to make a ton more feature flicks, I do think it's possible to share more footage of my process. So today I wanted to show off one of my camera rigs. Whenever I come up with a video, I often think of a type of shot that requires some sort of custom rig. You guys don't normally see the rig itself, so here's one of them. I call it the ROKKIT Unicorn Camera Mount. And in one of the videos called "There is no reverse on a motorcycle," which I know some bikes have reverse, but it was more about a play on words, which most of you got. But anyways, in the video, there is a shot of me riding down the road where the camera never moves from my head, but the rest of the background does. And this is the rig that made that shot possible. It's a variation of a previous rotating rig I built many years ago, long before GoPro made anything similar. And if you're interested in seeing that rig, let me know in the comments below. There were several requirements for this rig. Being that I have basically no budget, it had to be cheap. It also had to be light, and it had to be very sturdy. And lastly, because I have very expensive helmets, it couldn't damage whatever helmet I put it on. To make things easier, I got all the parts from my local Home Depot. The beam is aluminum. This helps keep the weight down without sacrificing rigidity. The fact that it's a square tube helps reduce twisting, as well as giving a flat surface to mount everything to. I added a rubber cap to the ends for both aesthetic reasons, as well as to avoid possible whistling in the wind. There are 3 locations for the camera to mount on, which are basically just 1/4-inch bolts for a GoPro tripod mount to screw to. The beam is attached to the helmet with some former upside-down wheel hardware. Bolts go through the beam, but obviously I couldn't use bolts to attach to the mounting plate. In this case, I had to use some double-sided foam tape and some small zip ties. The tape between the chair hardware and the mounting plate is really just for cushioning and to keep things from rattling than anything else. The zip ties do most of the work here. The mounting plate is what took most of the work since it had to match the shape and the space available for the helmet. This took a lot of hammering and forming in a vise to get it to fit perfectly. And no, I did not hammer it directly on the helmet. That's one of the reasons it took so long. The reason it needed to fit the contour so well was because the only thing that kept this thing from falling off was double-sided foam tape and some duct tape for insurance. For the record, I know that this rig does not conform to anything allowed on the road. So if you choose to make something like this, you will most likely be breaking several laws. In other words, I don't recommend following in my footsteps. Now, you wouldn't think that 3M foam tape would be strong enough, but if the shape matches perfectly and you give the tape a few minutes, it's surprising how hard it is to get off when you're done. One thing to note is that I cut out little holes for the foam tape where the zip ties would have created a small bump. This meant more of the tape had proper contact with the helmet surface. So that's the ROKKIT Unicorn Camera Mount. And without further ado, here's some footage from the first test. Enjoy.